morning, parents and guardians. How are you? Thank you so much for joining the counseling department tonight to review what we need to do to help our seniors get through their last year of high school. We will be presenting, the three of us will be presenting tonight, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And here we go. So again, the whole point and the whole focus of this presentation is to make sure that you are aware of what our seniors need to be doing this year to wrap up their final year of high school, how we as their counselors are going to help them and support them throughout the entire year, and so you know what kind of resources we have available for them. Just in case if they don't tell you themselves, at least you're hearing it from us. So the first section is just a quick little summary of everything that we're actually going to review today in detail. But just here's just some quick glance at some helpful resources. We have College Apps, so all of the college application platforms that we use for our students. Our Canvas, our Westview Counseling page, is a really great resource for our students to use to find any information regarding anything they need to do their senior year. SCORE is very important. That's how we as counselors know where to send our transcripts to for students who are interested in going to a four-year college after high school. You know, it's important for them to update that account and let us know what colleges they're applying to and which ones they have already applied to. And then we have our SMORE newsletters, which include a lot of really great resources for our students. That includes our counseling newsletter, our senior year guide, our enrichment and internships newsletter, and our scholarship newsletter. Here is the homepage to our school counseling Canvas page. So this is just to get you again familiar with our caseloads. You know, Mrs. Berner has students with last names A through DAS, Mrs. Ho from DAT to HOG, Mrs. Cudmore HOH to LOE, me, Mrs. Chithaluru, Mrs. C, LOF to PAT, and then Mrs. Arp, PAU to STA, and then Mr. Briney, STE to C. So this way you can see all of the counselor caseloads. They have not changed. So that's the great news. You still have your counselor from the end of last year, but another really great resource for you is to definitely take advantage of our counseling Canvas page. And we keep directing our students to go there as well. Here's just a quick little guide again on our counseling newsletters, the senior year guide, which I'm about to go into more depth about, just our regular Westview Counseling newsletter that we send out on a monthly basis, but we update it on a daily basis. So keep an eye out on any new things happening that's important for our students to be aware of. Then we have our enrichment and internships newsletter, which is a great place for students to look for other opportunities outside of school that they may be interested in, and we update it on a daily basis. And especially as seniors, this scholarship newsletter is really important and vital this year. You know, for those who are looking for more financial assistance for college purposes, like this really is a helpful guide. We have lots of scholarships on there. We post different things frequently, sometimes daily. We also tell our students that typically in the spring is when district and or Westview specific scholarships and grants are posted. So I always tell our students to keep an eye out for those, because that means they only have to compete either with PUSD seniors or Westview seniors. So it really increases their chances of getting some really great scholarships. So we'll keep sending out information about those, but it's a really great resource for our students. Now I'm going to dig into our senior year guide. So if you can go ahead and snap a picture of this QR code and it'll take you directly to our senior year guide so you can follow along with me and you can see everything that we have on here. So I'm going to quickly review some of the screenshots from the newsletter, and then later on in this presentation we'll go in depth about each one. But so the first thing you'll see when you open up our senior year guide is our senior workshop schedule. Take advantage of all of these workshops. Please have your students attend. They vary from being in person, from being virtual, from being pre-recorded presentations, but it's a great way to get a lot of questions answered regarding senior year information, such as applying to colleges. The one that I really want students to pay attention to is the last events listed on this flyer is our college application open labs. So on these dates and times, the counselors are available for just walk-in. So the students don't need to tell us in advance they're coming. They just need to show up, and we'll help answer all of their college application questions. We will review their application, whatever it is that they may need. we will be there to help and provide that help, that additional help for them that they may need. Then we have our college-bound senior year calendar. So for any student who wants to go to a four-year college after they graduate, this calendar gives them all the important dates for the year, such as, when is the last SAT that's available or ACT that's available to them, just in case if some other colleges require that. It gives them information on any senior workshops that we have coming up. So it has a lot of really good information for our students to kind of keep them on track, make sure they're not missing anything, make sure that they're requesting their mid-year transcripts and things of that nature. You'll also find the link to our senior year guide in the chat box, so please go ahead and go over there and click on it. So it's an easier way to open it as well. Next, you'll find a flyer that has important information for college applications. This is a really quick snapshot of just really helpful information for our students, basic information that they have to add and answer on their college applications, such as, when did they start school? When is graduation? Do we rank students, which we don't? What type of grading system do we have, which is semester, by the way? That is actually the number one mistake our students make, is when they usually put on their applications that we are a quarter system, when in fact we are a semester system. Within those 2 semesters, we have 2 quarters, but please make sure that they put that we are a semester school. But it gives you quick links to financial aid information, our senior year guide again, deadlines for college applications. So just a really quick, handy sheet that gives you all the information that you need to apply for colleges. We also have a college application frequently asked questions worksheet, which is really helpful. It tells you what our grading system is, how can I see my transcript, how do I enter AP statistics, whatever it may be. There's a lot of really good questions and answers on there for our students. I highly recommend for them to pay attention to that section. Then we have an entire section for senior workshop presentations. So currently our students have access to all the presentations our seniors from last year had, because we are currently updating all of these presentations, and they will be updated by October 1st. We are just waiting to hear back from the universities if they have changed anything on their application program, and so we will let our students know if that's the case. But in the meantime, 99% of these pre-recorded presentations are still accurate. So it's a great place for our students to start, to go watch the recording. We go through slide by slide on how they have to complete the Common App, for example, or the UC app or the CSU app. So it has a lot of really good detailed information on how to complete college applications. It also helps students if they still aren't sure where they're going to apply, which they need to work on right away. There's a whole presentation on developing and refining the college application list. So I recommend that as well. And then we have a section for our community college general sessions. Community college sessions will start in the spring, since those applications open in the spring. Right now, our students can't apply to community college. So in the fall, we focus on 4-year college applications. In the spring, we then focus on the community college applications. Then we have a quick college facts. So our CEB code, what term our students should be applying for the college apps, our grading system, class size, class rank, and graduation date. And then the link that takes them to our college visits. So we have lots of college visits scheduled this fall. So maybe if your student is on the fence about a certain place, they can come check them out, and maybe that'll really reassure their decision to either apply or not to apply. Then we have a section for how to request letters of recommendation from teachers. And we'll go into detail about that in just a little bit. And a section on how to request a letter of recommendation from your counselor. So this is what those instructions look like. On the senior year guide, you'll have our pictures, which includes a letter of recommendation questionnaire, but we'll get into the details of how this process works a little bit later. We also have a transcript section. So like, how do students request transcripts? How do they request mid-year transcripts and the counselor school report? We have a whole newsletter for school, how to use SCORE, because SCORE is where our students are going to go in and add all their colleges. So we know exactly where to send their transcripts. So we have a whole section on that, SCORE how-to videos. We have a section on financial aid information, which we'll discuss in a little bit as well. We have this additional college application information, which is a really quick guide on the differences between the CSU, UC, Common App, and community college applications. So in terms of like, if you have to pay, it'll tell you how much, deadlines, and it's just a quick little snapshot of how different they are. And then we have an applying to college section as well that gives you all the links to the college applications that are most commonly used by our students and a brief description of what they are. We also have a section of, are you still trying to figure out where you should apply, and the importance of having some reach, target, and some safety schools. We have a whole section on community college resources. We are really lucky here in San Diego to have such amazing community colleges. So we have a lot of really good information about all the local programs. We also have a section on trade school information for students who are interested in going into that field after, and they can work with their counselors to get more information, and then as well as military resources, because again, our students have lots of different options in terms of what their plans are going to be after they graduate. So we want to make sure that we cover everything in the senior year guide. And then the final section of the senior year guide is just a few additional resources. So there's a college entrance exam information section, how to build resilience for high school and college. So just some good information for our students to have. So please, you as parents, take a look at the senior guide as well, take advantage of the resources, and please direct your students to it as well for any questions they may have.
So I'm going to be talking to you next just a little bit about kind of some of the options, but then also how are we going to help your students get towards those options, and what steps are they going to need to take over the next several months in order to make sure that they are set up for whatever it is that they plan on doing after high school. We talked to the seniors this morning, and I would say probably just over half of them really felt that they were confident in what they wanted to do next year. Many of them are still deciding. Many of them are just starting to think about what is next for me. And we are here to help with whatever that may be. If your student is ready to head straight on to a 4-year university where they're going to start their education and they know they want to go for a master's and a doctorate, there are a number of steps that they will need to take for that. The option of maybe starting at a community college where they go for their first 1 to 2 years and then transfer onto a 4-year university to get that bachelor's level or higher degree. They are looking at vocational training. Maybe they're just going to go for 6 months to 2 years. Some wonderful, wonderful career opportunities out there for students who are looking for those hands-on skills. Some students might be heading for the workforce. And again, with the military, for students who are heading there, their steps might look a little bit different if they intend to enlist. And again, all of the information on getting into 2-year, 4-year colleges, on vocational options around here, on all of our military contacts, all of this information is in that senior year guide. I know we sound like a broken record, but it will be your lifeline this year, or your students' lifeline. Just so much information, everything that we could put in there. If there is something that your student can't find in the senior year guide, we encourage them to come on in and ask us, and we will help them through the process. For those of you, for those students who are considering heading to a 4-year university, we do also want you to be aware, the majority of our students do look to those UC and CSU 4-year universities, but the United States is huge, and there are a ton of colleges out there. And as you'll see from this map, actually the majority of colleges are on the East Coast. So is your student willing to travel to another state to go to college? Is that a good option for them? Are they looking for an exchange program? The WUI, Western Undergraduate Exchange, actually gives a tuition discount to students at public universities on the western side of the United States. So these are all options that your students should be aware of if they're looking to expand their search beyond the limits of California. I'll go through this quickly too. Local community colleges. For those students who are wanting to maybe start their 4-year degree a little closer to home, where they can still live at home, pay less in tuition, maybe have a little bit smaller class sizes, or maybe even go for one of those shorter term, like a 2-year degree. We've got wonderful local community colleges, at least 5 right here in San Diego that are within driving distance, an easy way for students to get that college education started. So the one thing that is in common, whether your kid is going to be going to a 2-year or a 4-year institution, if they're going into the military, if they are going into the workforce, if they are taking a gap year, the thing that they all have in common is that they are going to have to apply. And applications will look different for each of those areas. But with almost every application, there are additional things that need to go. Just write down name, address, and phone number and get accepted to college. They typically have to send some additional materials to the college or university or scholarship or agency that they are applying to. One of the first ones is their transcripts. Today, they started distributing unofficial transcripts to your seniors that shows every class that they have taken throughout high school. It shows where they are in terms of graduation. Are they on track for graduation? If your student did not pick up their unofficial transcripts, they can come by the Wolverine Center at any time and talk to Ms. Beccarelli and get a copy of that transcript and also a copy of the senior information that tells about all of our activities that we've got coming up in the counseling office. It tells when those dates for the open labs are. So if your student did not pick up their transcript today, please encourage them to stop by the Wolverine Center. This next slide shows some very important information that you will find on the transcript that is going to be asked in many of the applications that you come across. Towards the top, just under their name, you'll see their state ID or CSID number. This is a 10-digit number that many universities will ask for. It's basically their state identifier. So that's where you find it, just at the top of the transcript. It is right there in black and white for them. And then the transcript shows, starting with freshman year, every class that your student took, every grade that they earned. And if you look on the left-hand side of each class, we've got little indicators of what that class was. If there's a small p, it means it was a college preparatory course. And those are the courses that are like your A through G requirements. So UCs and CSUs are letting you know that they want to know what your English score or grade was, what your science grade was, but you will not notice a little p next to the ENS classes because those were not considered academic classes. And for college entrance purposes, for UCs and CSUs, those are not factored into the GPA. The courses that have an R indicate that that's a course that your student retook. So that particular grade is not being calculated into the GPA anymore. And you would then look for the repeat of that particular class, which you'll find in a later year or during summer school. If a course has an HH or an AH, it indicates one of those high honors or AP classes that receive the weighted GPA when we calculate our grade point average. And then at the bottom of the transcript, there's a GPA summary that gives the academic GPA, which takes into consideration all of your weighted classes, takes out those ENS or the non-academic classes. It takes out those classes that were repeated. The academic GPA is the one that we report to colleges. There's also an unweighted GPA that takes into consideration every single class that they've taken, including ENS. but does not give the 5.0 scale for APs and high honors classes. Some colleges prefer the unweighted GPA, and many prefer the weighted. So just so you know what you're reading there on the transcript. Perhaps the most important part of the transcript right now is we need to make sure your student graduates. So at the very bottom, there's a section called graduation requirements. It's got a credit summary that'll show you all of the credits that were required to reach graduation from Westview High School. The next column is completed. So it tells you how many credits your senior has completed so far. The WIP column is the work in progress, and this shows you what they are currently signed up for senior year. At this point, the hope is that there is nothing left in the needed category. If your student still has a class that says it's needed, we encourage them to come into the counseling center or get in touch with us so that we can make sure that they are scheduled for everything that they need in order to graduate. We need them to graduate first before they will be able to get into their college. Another place your student can make sure that they're on track for graduation is just in their student view. If they go under course history, they're just looking for those green bars that show that they have 100% of each category completed, or if it's in progress, it's in yellow. So that is just another place for them to take a look. So now when it comes to those applications, we need students to really be focused and kind of on top of things because senior year goes so fast. So applications for most four-year colleges, we tend to say work in the fall. So anywhere from now until some of those common application deadlines are like January 1st. So making sure that you know exactly what your deadlines are, making sure you're applying to the right schools, the ones that are a good fit for you, is all very important. Deadlines when it comes to college applications are drop dead dates. Like you cannot try to apply to a school the day after their application closed, they won't accept it and you won't be considered. So we encourage students to make a calendar, know exactly when everything needs to be turned in, and turn it in early. If you wait until the night before it's due, there's a good chance that system is going to crash and your application isn't going to get in on time. We've seen it happen time and again. We tell students never to have their student or to send in their application before somebody else has looked at it. When you're looking at an application so many times, you might miss something. Whereas if your student has you as a parent, take one more look just to make sure that every line is filled out, or comes into one of those open labs where us counselors are available to help, just as a walk-in basis, they can bring in their completed application, have us take a look through it and say, yes, that looks ready to click send. You don't want to send in an incomplete application because you might not be able to go back and make corrections, and that could keep you from getting into your college of choice if you have made some errors. So make sure that you get those applications checked before you press send, and know that you are sending off the best possible application that you can. Same with essays. You want to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward, that you don't have any spelling errors or simple mistakes. And so having somebody proofread the essays is always a good idea. We'll go to the next slide, please. This one is just a sample, and again, this was on the senior year guide of an application checklist, a place where you can write in, okay, this is exactly what my CSU schools are requiring, so that you make sure, okay, do I need an essay for this one? Do I need a letter of recommendation for that one? What are the deadlines? We encourage students to keep a checklist somewhat like this for each of their schools that they are applying to. On the senior year guide, we do have this college app information that many colleges, almost all of them, a lot of even the military and even workplaces may be asking for this same specific information. But we want to make sure it's available to you and easy to find on that senior year guide. Our school code, when you're applying, the class size. As far as class rank, we do not rank. We can't stress this enough. If a student asks, where do I rank? We can't tell you exactly where you rank, but we can't even tell you like you're in the top quarter, you're in the top half. To be honest, they don't tell us. So we don't have access to that information. So on the applications, you will always put, we do not rank. Cannot stress this one enough. The grading system is a semester base. Every class of one of our students takes is a semester. So if you look at your freshman year English, you took English 1 and you took English 2. English 1 earned you 1 semester's worth of credit. English 2 earned you 1 semester's worth of credit. That is extremely important because if you put in quarters, you would be telling your university that you only took 2 quarters, which is only a half a year worth of English. That does not satisfy the A through G entrance requirements. So if you've already started working on applications, if you put in quarters, go back in and put semesters so you make sure that you get enough credit for each class that you took. Some schools may still be requiring SAT and ACTs. Know that UCs and ECSU schools are not considering them at this time. So if you're only applying to those, you may not need to take the ACT and SAT. However, if you might be applying to private schools or out-of-state schools, it may be a requirement for that particular college or university. If they require it, that is not something that goes through Westview. You would contact College Board for your SAT scores or actstudent.org for ACT scores. And on your account in those websites, you ask them to have your scores sent to the different colleges or universities or scholarships or whatever it may be that has asked for those exams. So just know that if you need those scores sent, you need to get online to their websites. Most applications are going to, at some point, request an official transcript. Whether it's a 2-year school, a 4-year school, the military asks for it. Your official transcript is sent, the majority of them we send through SCORE. This is an online system where your student goes in, their accounts have already been pre-built for them. So they can just go to the senior year guide, click on SCORE, get into their account, and then they will use that account to tell us every single college or university that they might be applying to. And from there, we automatically send out the transcript on their behalf. Once you get in there, it's a pretty easy thing to do. This is the base that they will see when they log in. There's a section where they can choose their colleges and start to make a list. They've got a profile. One important thing for you parents is that you need to be involved in SCORE as well. You will get, or probably have already long ago gotten, an invitation to SCORE so that you can log into your student's profile. And if your student is under the age of 18, you need to sign the release authorization for FERPA so that we can send school documents to your students' colleges or universities. You sign that, the student also signs a waiver of rights, and after those two are signed, they have to be signed first, we can start to send out those official transcripts that your student needs. So super, super important that you as parents get logged in there. This is what it looks like to sign the waiver. It's basically a click button after you read the notice of rights and the information. Adding colleges. This is one that we do encourage you as parents to really start those conversations with your kids. A student can put colleges into the following list if they are just starting to build that list of colleges and figure out, okay, these are the ones I'm considering. I believe that you as parents can suggest some colleges to your students. You can only put them in the following. Your student needs to, after they have decided, yes, I'm actually going to apply, move that college either into the applying or applied column. The applying or applied column, once the school is listed in there, that automatically triggers us to send those official transcripts to that university. So they want to make sure that their transcript, the unofficial transcript that we gave them today, looks right, that their information is correct. And when they are ready to start hitting those apply buttons, make sure they log on to SCORE and click on applying or applied so we can send these school documents, which include like our school profile. It includes your student's official transcript, just a few of those extra bits and pieces that your student needs along with their application.
All right. So requesting a letter of recommendation, once your student has completed their applications or they're working with their applications, they will request letters of recommendation. Now, not every application is going to be requesting a letter of recommendation. So make sure that you're paying attention to each of your applications to make sure. And when you do go request a letter of recommendation, make sure you ask first, be considerate and be thankful. A lot of times, including us counselors, the teachers are writing these letters of recommendation on their own time. So in the Common App, you're going to have them look at the My Colleges, and under Recommenders and FERPA, they'll complete, once you've completed the FERPA release authorization, you'll invite a teacher and add in their information. For non-Common App colleges, typically you'll add their information with an email, and it will send directly a link to each of your recommenders to fill out their letter of recommendation portion. And then in SCORE, you'll only request a teacher letter of recommendation through that option. Requesting a letter of recommendation from your counselor. On our Canvas page, we have a section for letters of recommendation. Under each of our names, there are letters of recommendation appointments that they can click on. They can schedule an appointment with us, and we will have typically them fill out either a brag sheet, attach their resume, or have information that'll help us in requesting information from them to complete that letter of recommendation. You can also come in, and we typically will meet with each of our students to go over their information and make sure that we're ready to write their letter of rec. Other recommenders, so this can be either if your student's employed, if they're involved in an internship through your church, they can request a letter of recommendation from any of the outside entities. They typically will go and request through the Common Application under other recommenders, or they will just request letters of recommendation from them traditionally, and then they'll be able to send it through the secured link that they send to each of their recommenders. Application plans. So this one's important. If you take a look at the different types of applications, the one that we really want to focus in on primarily is the early decision. Early decision is different from all the rest, and that's because it's a binding commitment. So if you're applying early decision to a school, when you click on that, you will have to, and you're accepted, you will have to attend. That's the school that you are going to. So that's why it says it's a binding application. All the rest are typically non-binding, and so you'll be able to look through all of that information. But again, early decision is a binding commitment, and there's typically an early decision agreement that you'll have to complete. And if a student is filling that out, or if they're applying early decision, we want to know, because that early decision agreement is something that we need to fill out and sign, and parents will sign and student will sign as well. And so this is typically your first choice school. And like I said, if you're accepted, you are bound to go to that school. Financial aid. So the FAFSA, or financial aid, is a little bit different this year. It'll be available starting in December. We don't have an actual date just yet. They've tweaked how it's going to work. And so you'll be able to log in. They've made it a little bit easier. Instead of it being over 100 questions, it's going to be around 40 questions now that you'll complete, but sometime in December, and we will keep the students apprised of this date when it comes. You'll go through, fill out the information, and then we will be able to focus in on the due date, which will be by April 2nd. So they've moved that. Typically, it used to be on March 2nd. Now it's moved to April 2nd. So it gives a little bit more time and energy to the students to be able to apply for their applications in the fall, and then we'll focus a little bit more on that FAFSA in the springtime. Going Merry is an awesome help or an aid when filling out your FAFSA. It also has lots of opportunities for our students to look into scholarships. So I would highly encourage everyone to go into Going Merry and sign up. They can figure out different scholarships. They'll work and see kind of what falls in your realm of things that you can apply to and help you to organize it that way. Because we know that every dollar helps when we're looking into scholarships and into financial aid going towards those college tuition prices. All right, senior year matters. We want to make sure that we instill this in not just the students, but also you parents as well. So maintaining those grades for all of our seniors is vital and important, because a lot of schools during the application process are going to ask for mid-year reports. So you're going to want to have the mid-year report, or you have your great great grades in your transcript for those mid reports, to make sure that you're doing your best and showing them that you're continuing that drive. Class changes. So if you're making any class changes from the time that you applied in term 1 and then go into term 2 and make changes, you will have to notify each of those schools of the course changes that you've made. So if you're needing to do any of that, make sure you're speaking with your counselor beforehand. I can't stress this enough. It is highly contagious. Senioritis, don't get it. You want to make sure that you keep on top of everything and that you're just going strong and finishing out your school year to the best of your ability. And that all takes discipline. So making sure that you're working as best you can to do the best that you can. After this, we want all of the seniors to complete our senior class survey. This gives us some information for us to be able to get what we need in order to assist the students or your students best throughout their application process, and figuring what they'll need for this year to make them most successful. We will be sending this link through Canvas. And then staying connected, as Mrs. C and Mrs. Arp both said, we want to make sure that everyone is staying connected in all of the things that we have. On the right-hand side of your screen, we have all of our counselors and the alpha breakdown. Reach out to any of us if we can help with any information. We also have the senior year guide. Again, you can take a look at everything that we have to offer. The one thing that I really want to stress, very importantly, are the college application open lab dates. This is where we will have opportunities before school, during Wolverine time, after school, for students to come and get information or help on their college applications. And those dates are on the screen below. So thank you for joining us this evening. If you have any additional questions, please make sure you reach out to your child's counselor, and we'll be happy to help answer any questions that we can.